I was with the 25th Division for a couple of days up at Schofield Barracks. And the Combat Aviation Brigade had just returned. And I was talking with the Command Sergeant Major and the brigade commander. And I told them I was coming up here and that I had this image in my mind of the Chinook landing on the building in Afghanistan. And the brigade commander said, "You know that was the New York National Guard." And I said, "Yes, I did, and that's why it's in my mind, because I was coming to be with you." Now, I don't know whether those aviators, any of those aviators are in the room. Somebody told me one of them was here at the conference. But whatever, wherever they are, they represent the strength of the United States of America, and certainly are a great tribute to the New York National Guard and the National Guard writ large, because that was not amateur sport. That was a great display of skill and professionalism and courage. And that is what I know and I think about when I think of the New York National Guard. As I spoke to the police, some of the police officers and firefighters down in Manhattan in 2001, I reflected on the monument, the memorial at Gettysburg to the firefighters. There's a firefighter, a New York firefighter, and an infantryman side by side right by the peach orchard. There's also the Irish Wolfhound representing the Irish Brigade. Slocum. There are monuments all over that battlefield to New Yorkers who stood up for what was right in the American Civil War and gave of themselves selflessly, like you are doing today, in profound ways. One of the most significant days in American military history, when the most soldiers died on the battlefield, was at Antietam. Right by the cemetery in Antietam, at the crest of a hill, is a large obelisk to the New York Zouaves, who took the high ground at horrible cost. As you know, that battle was listed as a victory, and President Lincoln announced the Emancipation Proclamation. In the cemetery at Antietam, looking at actually Sharpsburg, Maryland, looking over Antietam Creek, is a huge statue to the American soldier, huge statue. And across the base of that statue, it says, not for themselves, but for their country. That statue represents today the American soldier, sailor, airman, Marine, and members of the Coast Guard. Not for themselves, it says, but for their country. I was asked in 1993 by a major. I had no idea whether he was a member of the Army National Guard, the Army Reserve, or the Active Army. I had been talking about the changes we were making to the Army. He said, "Sir, we hear you talking about change. What aren't you going to change?" I said I would do my best to maintain the essence of the United States Army. The essence? Since I was a senior officer present, I didn't have to answer any more questions, and I had time to think about what I had said. As I told you, I was just in Hawaii. I can take you to Pearl Harbor, and you can stand on the Arizona Memorial and look down into that black water with the oil slick coming up and think of the essence of the United States Navy. You can go to Frankfurt, Rhein-Main, or go up to Tempelhof in Berlin and see the bridge, the symbolic bridge the airlift conducted at the end of World War II by what later was to become the United States Air Force. At that time, it was the Army Air Corps. Men who had taken horrible losses in bombing over Germany and occupied nations. Horrible losses, 40%, 50%. You can think about the essence of the United States Air Force. United States Marine Corps, the monument in Washington, D.C., called Iwo Jima. It's their battle monument, around the base of which are all the battles of the United States Marine Corps. And the essence of the United States Army, you can see it on the battle flag. Did you notice how many streamers are on that flag? People like you have put those streamers on that flag at the cost of lives and blood and sacrifice. Essence? The essence of the United States Army, active guard and reserve, and the civilians who support us. I can see it in your faces. The faces of American people who have the courage to say, hey, look at us. Look at us. Less than 2 million people have the courage to serve in uniform. Less than 1%, all in, all in. Less than 1% of the American people. You're special. You are special. And what we see here tonight is what makes you special. You can have fun. You look great. You're proud of your service. You wear your wounds proudly. You wear your decorations. And your spouses are at your side. That's the strength of America. 2 words. 2 words. Sum it up. Thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your courage. Thank you for what you do for the United States of America and people who need our help. General Sherman wrote a letter to General Grant in 1864. And in that letter, General Sherman said, throughout the war, you have always been in my mind. I have always known if I were alive, if I were in trouble and you were still alive, you would come to my assistance. When you listen to what that staff sergeant says, who is to be decorated with the Medal of Honor, when he answers questions, think about what Sherman said to Grant in 1864. When asked by a reporter, why did you go after that man? Why did you run into the face of the enemy? He was dumbfounded. He was dumbfounded. It was almost like, why do you ask? He's my buddy. He was my buddy. I will never quit. I will never accept defeat. I will never leave a fallen comrade. That's why the United States does what it does. That's why you do what you do. Thank you. God bless you. It's nice to be with you.